A sitting president, a corrupted justice system, an active war, and a peace deal killed, not by diplomacy, not by intelligence failure, but because someone didn't want to sit on a plane for 18 hours. If you think that sounds insane, stay with me, because every single word of what you're about to hear is documented, sourced, and happening right now. Drop a comment below telling me which part of this shocks you most. I'll be reading every single one. Here is what no one is connecting for you. 3 things are happening simultaneously in the United States, and they are not separate stories. They are 3 symptoms of the same collapse. A president who has effectively turned the Department of Justice into a personal shield. An FBI director accused of weaponizing federal resources to protect his girlfriend and suppress journalists. And a defense secretary who shared classified military war plans in a group chat, allegedly ordered the killing of fishermen in the Caribbean, and then sat before Congress and lied. Not alleged, documented. This is not a cable news argument. This is the architecture of what happens when accountability dies. Let's start with the institution whose death almost no one noticed, and whose destruction may be the single most consequential act of institutional vandalism in a generation. It was called the Public Integrity Section of the Criminal Division of the United States Department of Justice. Most Americans have never heard of it. That is exactly why killing it worked. It was built in direct response to the Watergate scandal. For nearly 50 years, it was the one unit inside the federal government whose entire job was to prosecute public officials who abused their power. Senators, governors, judges, mayors. It didn't care about party. It had put Democrats and Republicans behind bars. It was, by design, politically blind. And then, according to the Brennan Center for Justice, the Trump administration gutted it entirely. The longtime career head of the office was removed within days of the new administration taking power. Prosecutors inside the unit were then ordered to drop corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, charges that a sitting federal judge later described as having been dropped in what she called, and this is a direct quote, a breathtaking political bargain. 5 senior officials inside that office resigned rather than carry out what they described as an immoral, illegal, and unethical order. Then the office lost its authority to open new cases. Then the staff was cut from 36 career prosecutors down to 2. 2. That is what remains of the institution created specifically so that no one in public life could be above the law. If that doesn't make you want to share this with someone who still thinks the system is working, I don't know what will. Now, here is where this connects to a war and to a decision so bizarre that when you hear it, you will not believe it came from the Oval Office. Since early 2025, the United States has been in an active armed conflict involving Iran. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which roughly 20% of the world's oil moves, has been the central flashpoint. Iranian fast boats, American destroyers, missile exchanges, drone strikes on launch sites and command infrastructure. The conflict has already caused thousands of casualties. It has displaced hundreds of thousands of people. It has created a global energy crisis that analysts warn could push 45 million people toward acute hunger. And yet, and this is where you need to pay close attention, a genuine diplomatic off-ramp was forming. Pakistan, under Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, had emerged as a legitimate mediator. It shares a long border with Iran. It has maintained workable relationships with both Washington and Tehran across decades of shifting alliances. It had no direct stake in the outcome. It was the ideal bridge. A first round of talks in Islamabad in early April brought American and Iranian delegations to the same city for the first time since the conflict began. Iran's foreign minister had traveled to Islamabad. He met with Prime Minister Sharif. He then moved on to Oman for further consultations. The Iranian delegation was physically present, engaged, and moving through the diplomatic circuit. A second round was scheduled. A high-level American delegation that included Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner was ready. Air Force Two was on the runway at Joint Base Andrews, engines on, ready to depart. This was the most concrete step toward ending the war that anyone had seen in weeks. Then, Trump picked up the phone. His words, not paraphrased, his exact words. "I told my people just now they were getting ready to leave. Don't make an 18-hour flight to go all the way over there." That is the statement that grounded the plane. That froze the negotiations. That sent oil prices surging by Monday morning. Not a strategic calculation, not a shift in intelligence assessment, not a change in the military picture on the ground. A decision made apparently in the moment and communicated casually to a Fox News interviewer that canceled a peace mission the entire world was watching. Trump added on camera, "We're not going to spend 15 hours on planes all the time going back and forth to deliver a document that wasn't good enough. We'll negotiate by phone, and they can call us anytime they want." Negotiate by phone to end a war. That has closed the Strait of Hormuz. That is threatening the global food supply. That has already cost thousands of lives. The Iranian response was immediate. A senior advisor in Tehran stated that the ceasefire announcement meant nothing and that Iran should respond militarily. Iran's ambassador to the United Nations said talks would only resume once the United States ended its naval blockade of Iranian ports. Washington's position was the mirror image. Negotiate first, then we discuss the blockade. Neither side will move first. Neither side trusts the other enough to give anything without receiving something. And the one country that was trusted by both sides to sequence those concessions, Pakistan, had just watched its credibility as a mediator evaporate the moment America canceled. Inside Tehran, the cancellation didn't just stall diplomacy. It handed the hardliners exactly what they needed. The faction that had been arguing all along that the United States is not a serious negotiating partner, that Iran can only trust what it achieves through force, that faction just got its best argument yet. That is not a small thing. That is how wars that could have ended don't end. Meanwhile, back in Washington, the pressure is building from directions simultaneously. Some Republican senators, including Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski, have indicated they would support a vote to authorize the use of military force once the conflict crosses the 60-day threshold. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has not ruled out such a vote after 90 days if the conflict has not diminished. The clock is running. The institution designed to hold power accountable has been reduced to 2 people. The war that could have been paused is still running. And the man at the center of all of it controls the judges, commands the military, and just canceled a peace deal because he didn't want to fly. So here is the question, the one that every constitutional lawyer, every retired federal prosecutor, every former federal judge is now asking out loud. When the system designed to stop one man from accumulating unchecked power has been methodically dismantled by that same man, what exactly is left to stop him? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every single one and I respond daily because this story moves fast and you deserve to be kept up with it every single day, not once a week when it's already old news. If this is the kind of reporting that actually connects the dots for you, subscribe. Not for the algorithm, because the next piece is already being built and it's worse than this one.